As has been reported, Bo Horvat recently declined the latest contract extension offer by the Vancouver Canucks, and that's probably 10 days, 2 weeks ago. The Canucks now, without question, are motivated to trade Bo Horvat. Would you do it sooner rather than later? And I guess, based on everything we've just talked about, you've got to have a trade partner. So when the deal makes sense, when the fit is right, then you execute the trade. But you're talking about a pretty important piece here in Vancouver.
You do. So you can't, they could make a trade tomorrow, I'm sure, and it wouldn't be a very good one. And so they're trying to wait to balance their part of leverage with another team's need. When I look at Horvat, I'm looking in the media here in Vancouver, the way they, the intensity around Bo Horvat and his fabulous start to the year. But he starts to get covered like he's a 50-goal scorer because that's the pace he's on. But he's not. You have to look. So one side's looking at it like, hey, the Canucks are looking at it like, look at the season he's having. That's the return we need. And the other team is saying, yeah, historically, he's whatever the number of goals is per year. And Horvat's, I think he takes more faceoffs than anybody in the league. He's had, he's right at 20 goals. He's had an amazing start. And so if you're going to move him, you need a return. Here's the complication. For the teams that will need a centerman, a prominent centerman, those teams have to identify where they are during the season, right? Where they are, what do they think their long-term perspective is for this year? Here's the other part. I was in St. Louis the other night. Ryan O'Reilly's without a contract.
Yeah.
Jonathan Toews has had a pretty good start to the season in Chicago. Most certainly is going to be moved. So there's 3 centermen. Mm-hmm. So if I'm Team A, I'm bouncing phone calls off these 3 guys, figuring out who can I get the most return of production from for the least. And I'm not talking about a 7-year contract. I'm talking about this year. Yeah. Because they're all coming out of contract.
So you're playing the rental game. You're not looking at, I guess potentially you could look at an extension.
Sure, you could, but that's certainly going to change the dynamic of what you're doing. You're going to have to wait until that player shows up in your city to get that extension done. And so the complication is it's not just in this market, like a team's market. If Doug Armstrong decides to pull the pin in St. Louis and say, you know what, we're not going to be a team that can go on a 2-month run in St. Louis. We need to move Tarasenko. We need to move need to move O'Reilly. Yeah. Because those guys are out of contract at the end of the year. If he decides to do that and Horvat's up and we know Toews is up, it becomes a far more complicated deal than just you need to move the centerman. If you got a right-handed D, you're going to be fine. There's never enough of those guys.
That's the way it seems. Always top of the list for sure. Hey, thanks for tuning into our YouTube channel. And while you're here, why don't you do us a solid? Hit like and subscribe.
Yeah, you'll get access to all the latest uploads. You can stay updated on the latest news and interviews from the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast.
It only takes a couple of seconds. And from what I'm told, it helps with our algorithm thingamajig. Anyway, we appreciate the support.